Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. So, in today's episode, we're actually doing more Art Anderson interviews. So, the first interview that we posted was specific to stories about the house. This episode will just focus on what it was like growing up in Port aux Basques and a little perspective from Art's eyes. So, I really hope you enjoy today's episode. We will have Art Anderson appearing in a third episode that is yet to be recorded, where Art will be coming up to the house and actually doing a walkthrough in the house. And so we'll share sort of that first reaction as he steps foot in the house after decades of not having been in there. So I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you like and hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoy another episode with Tales from Art Anderson.
My brother Juro had a loose tooth, so we decided what was going to get clear of this tooth. Sat down on a chair and got a piece of line and so I tied on his tooth and tied on that big doorknob down there, that big door, and but he was too close. So when we all back the door, the knob come back into the boat, knocked the tooth out of his head. Oh, my son. But rough crowd.
He loves the tap of it down.
Yeah. Another day, the one I'm talking to now, I got is going to watch your tapes up in out west. She gave her the out of go about it, Wanda, but that was my brother's daughter.
Okay.
So she's going to watch your machines this afternoon when she comes back from the doctor. So she's going to watch that, but she'll never get home no more. And she was only a baby, sat down in a high chair, and she had soup. And so Gerald, he was awful full to tell on you. Like if he seen you do something, he wait till you get to the dinner table. I used to piss me right off. I made a grab for him and missed it. The same time I did, he even picked up the bowl of hot soup that Wanda was waiting to cool down, and it took me right fair between the two eyes. And I out of the chair after him to the front door then. Now, down there where the express train used to come in through,
Yeah.
I was only about, that high probably. And this time I was, this old lady, I see her now with a white hair, had this great big suitcase, more of a trunk than it was a suitcase. And she said, "Here, my son," she said, "you take this suitcase down for me, down for to go aboard the boat down this way, see?" And he was that heavy, I had to squat him along. And back then, and we never had no monies, before we came under Confederation, we had Rangers.
Okay.
And I wouldn't figure out where I was going, nothing. And by bang, this big Ranger kicked me in the ass with them big boots, the Ranger boots and the Mounties boots you see one time.
Yeah.
Although he stretched my ass so big as around as one of the machines up there. And she said, "What do you do that for?" She said, "What's wrong with you?" She said, "Something wrong with you. That poor boy," she said, "was helping you. And look what you got done with him. Almost killed him." She said, "You should be put in jail." She gave him someplace down. And then one come payday for her to pay me. She gave me a little small Newfoundland pheasant piece, as big as that there, though. And I guarantee you, I was in agony for a nice while. Well, it was 11 boys. Well, there was, let me see, I got a picture of it there. There was 7 boys stayed home up there. Two of them was married, and their wives stayed there too for a while. So let me see now. So up through the years, you see, when you got married, you took your bed, your mattress. Some of them had what you call a feather mattress and feather pillows and that.
Yeah.
You took all that with you. But you paid your board from the first day you worked until the last day you moved out.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was boarders in there besides. Took all kinds of boarders.
Okay.
We had one feller when they done the Carson Dock over there. he was from Ukraine, and the other fellow, old fellow, was from Russia.
Okay.
They did all of the blasting, so you can imagine
Okay.
how much that was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How many rocks down to the Carson Dock. And I worked on the Carson Dock myself back in 1952. I went to work when I was about 1951.
Okay.
Come out of school with grade 8, and you didn't need education to work on the wharf. As long as you could read your name and know where the bag of mail was going and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, out front of that, on the right-hand side of the basement, outside there was what they had for sewer lines. They had 2 pork barrels, wooden pork barrels.
Okay.
And the only one ever done a lot toward Pop was Brother Bert. He helped Pop a lot, eh? The rest of it didn't, because we was, 14, 15, 16 years old. We wasn't interested in that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, I decided I was going to go to the bank and see if I could get a loan to buy a car. So I don't know, all they could do it off going out, look for girls and all that kind of stuff, out to the restaurants and everything. And I walked along, I said, Pop, I said, it wouldn't go good for me out in the bank. I said, I want to buy a car. And I could see him now, down in this barrel shit, with this bucket. He said, if I could get out of this fucking barrel, he said, I'd carry you, he said, and I'd carry you, so I'd flatten you with that fucking shovel. What else could you expect, like, you know? Yeah, this is all now, the people from Rose Blanche and Allenmore,
Yeah.
not so much Allenmore, yes, I suppose. Now, they all stayed aboard them boats in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
My father used to take them, Mom, we was called Mom Jane. Her name was Jane, Anna Jane. He said, Jane, he said, make up some bologna sandwiches. He said, take them to them boys, she said, because they probably won't get nothing to eat for their lunch, which was 8 o'clock at night, right, go to work 4. And he'd taken all kinds of sandwiches for them people that were from down the coast. That used to be our cars. We done more riding around on these boxcars down in the yard.
Okay, yeah.
The 2 of us. And I had a sister named Lil. That's 1947 there, yeah. And we had buddies who used to come, like relations in some cases, and a game of scout, what you call scout, where you run around the house after a fella, and perhaps he would turn around and run the other way. And this day, one fella died there about a month ago, I suppose, and my brother Gerald. And he come around the corner of the house, and when they did,
Smack.
face first, right? Body going everywhere. And me back there laughing the ass off. Oh, my son. You weren't talking to Ducats, I guess, have it?
No.
No. Well, they were the first band. They could have went places. They almost did.
Okay.
They played for our wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, back then when they wouldn't even call it Ducats. Yeah. And lots of music, because there was lots of music there. There was everything there, from Jew sharp to accordion. Yeah, pianos and organs and the devil knows what. Boys, oh boys.
So all 13 of, 12 of your 10 brothers and 2 sisters all lived in the house at the same time?
Other than 2, because there was 2 died when they were babies.
Okay.
And so the rest of the boys, there was 2 that had married. I had wives there, and 2 sisters, and they all lived there. The other sister, my sister married another World War II vet. They come home then and got married. And stayed as Matt Young's, his name was, and they got married and stayed there till they rented for a while. But first, when they come home from overseas, they stayed there, and a couple more other brothers, Their wives stayed there. But Gerald was the only one that was left. He died there last year. He was the youngest. And I was the next. But me and my sister was like that. She died, 2-3 years ago. My father was always at something. He was always at something. I mean, he had a horse. And all of the gear that was on her was silver.
Okay.
Silver this and stuff. And when she be going up the road, you hear the jingles, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And he had a truck. He lost her up in Grand Bay Bottom. He was always into something. And when they was putting the highway through, he had a 5-ton truck up there working on the highway. And the drivers that you got then would where they should be putting oil in ancient, they were selling it.
Yeah.
And things of that nature, so it couldn't last.
5-pound truck?
Yeah.
5 ton.
5 tons. One fella even went and stole his spare tire because he had a truck up there too. But that's the kind of stuff that was going on back then,
Yeah.
you know.
And what about fireplaces? Were they
yeah.
all?
Yeah.
So the kitchen would have had some kind of stove, I'm assuming.
Yes, we had a coal stove there.
Okay.
There was a little pantry but the hatch, my grandmother fell, she was 93 when she died. She fell down that hatch, down the basement.
So that hatch was in the house when you got
Yes,
there?
yes.
Okay.
And
Because
she
we
fell-
wondered who'd put the hatch in if that was
Yeah.
original to the
And
house.
little shelves in there then, so that's where the things were skipped to then.
Yeah,
There were no covers.
that's right.
And she fell down the basement and Pop and we had a boarder there for about 15 or 20 years, I suppose. They brought her up from the basement on a chair, sat on a chair. And I'd say she was about probably 180, 190 pounds back then.
Yeah, okay.
She was about 90 years old then. They brought her up on the chair, I was around on a chair. We had a storm. I'm not sure if I was telling about it a couple of days ago. We had a scaffold with blocks and tables, see? And this big long scaffold was about that long there,
Mm-hmm.
with a back onto it, and a wire strap on each end, like going up that way, eh? And I think, I don't know if it was August gale or October storm. Anyhow, the scaffold was all right up to the eave, right up as far as it would go. On the side where that drags us to now on that
Yeah.
side, all that, and anyhow, about 6 o'clock, just coming on dark, that's when the storm hit, and there was this machine up on the side of the house. Bang, bang. I was up in the bedroom, and one boy, the roof started to lift. Oh, I know he went up with that far. And there was the bedclothes coming up, the canvas was coming up and everything. And I took off running, pushing up the window so the air could get
Yeah.
out. If I ended it would have took the roof off and
Jeez.
probably took me with it. But anyhow, the fellow who married my sister, Matt Youngs, he crawled up a big ladder that was there and got over to the wire. It was a wire would go from anchors on one side of the house, right across, down up to this scaffold, see? And he crawled out on his stomach, holding onto this wire, and got down over the eave onto the scaffold, and you untie one end and let her come down so far, and that's what we got. And it, I think it broke the window at that time. The piece of board was there, but we got stuff over it. Eh? They were tight as a muscle test.
Okay.
They didn't like spending money at all, eh? But he spent big money in big things.
Yeah.
But we never got too much. We used to have garden parties here one time. I can remember getting 1 50-cent piece. That's all.
But you got to remember, it was 13 years.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not saying nothing about it. I mean, you know, that's the way it was. Not only us. All of them, they stole on a few dollars, whatever they could get, because it was money. Never got paid for nothing. Like I said, she got 25 cents for doing a shirt, washing a shirt, and doing it with starch. But one time, me and Gerald and Lil, buddy for a lot of years, eh? But when I remember a time when we a band came here by called Albert Slim, and Alberta Slim, and he had a horse that could dance on the plate. I don't know how big the plate was because we never got to see it. We broke into the barber shop because we used to get our hair cut there sometimes. Most times we used to cut it themselves with them old-fashioned clippers. And we broke in and stole some money, probably about $2-3 worth of quarters. And we got caught. Gerald had a strap on his arm, and the strap disappeared. Where he should disappear to was in the barber shop.
Oh.
And so the barber, when we was on our way to go to see Albert Slim, he caught us. And he said, by the way, he said, would every one of you boys own that strap? And Gerald said, that's mine, sir. Came over, right? So anyhow, I got put upstairs for a month.
Oh, jeez.
In the summertime, July month.
Oh, jeez.
When everybody was going swimming up in a big pond out there. So, and I got one license for me and another for it, got stealing cigarettes. And I got a license that time with a barber's. You remember the big straps you used to have that went
yeah.
the knives like that?
Yeah.
I got a license with that. Every time that would it take flesh out of you.
Oh, jeez.
But that's the only time. That's the only choice. And that was a good lesson we learned there. But they never used to give us no money. Like, you know, what money we made for to go to movies or whatever, we just go in when the trains come in, pick up pop bottles and beer bottles and all that kind of stuff, and we carry them down to Frank Pike's.
Yeah, okay.
And sell them. Well, when you go and you come up and you on the way in, you might have a dozen bottles, but you pick up 2 or 3 off the floor and man, hopefully didn't know, and you end up with four dozen bottles. Oh my God. That's how we got our money. Yeah, that restaurant I show you up outside the other.
Yeah.
Down on the wharf, see, there was about, in the day shift, over 300 men worked down there. So we used to take pop down, cases of pop, and bars and everything, and hot dogs and that kind of stuff, and sell it to the crowd down there working, see?
Yeah.
That's what we made our money. We worked for our money.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could sit here for another 2 days and tell you about things like Mountain News. And we had our fights, I guarantee you. And Gerald, he was cowardly, eh? He used to fire rocks that big, that take you up inside the old mice and the night burn. Yeah. And poor old mom, she had knuckles like Elsie's, eh? When she hit you up inside you with that knuckle, I tell you, you was going to feel it.
My mom had a handful of rings.
You see? Yeah. But I really look forward to one day to get up in that house and just have a look at it.
Well, and if for some reason if you're able to go up, if I'm not here or Bill hasn't made it, my daughter's up at the house, and so I'll make sure that she turns on her camera.
Yeah, I sooner go up where she's to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to work on the wharf in 1953. And I had worked on the Carson Dock before that. I worked on the old ice house up there, and I worked on McNamara putting the Carson Dock, and even back then, he was in need of education to get a job. There was thousands of work, so from 1949 up on even now, that everything came into Newfoundland from Canada was changed through this port air from 50 pounds to 50 tons. Can you imagine how we handled to take a big one of them, them backhauls now, the weight is in them. It used to be steam shovels back then. And we had to take that off the old random or one of them big boats there up on the pieces of 14 by 14 and bring it across onto a flat car. Everything that came through Newfoundland came through Port aux Basques because of the fact it was the closest and the entry to Newfoundland. And I say her father went down on the caribou, Bill's father.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was kind of two families there, like, you know.
I think it's, you know, it's stories like this that I don't think people hear nowadays and don't understand how difficult life was
Oh yes.
then.
I can remember when the caribou went down. I wasn't very old. See it? And the bodies that was brought ashore there, and it was down to the old pier then, not there now. And it was a Bow Waters used to make paper out there at that time, and ship it out on the boats out there because it was froze up in the corner boat.
Okay.
And there was a big long conveyor belt used to run down in a building. That's where all the bodies was took and put to. See, when we were under England, we were under their healthcare system, which and if they took you to the doctor, you wouldn't have to pay for to get operated on or whatever. But it changed big time when we came. I said we could have went under the what Trump wanted to do now, wants to become the 51st state son of a bitch, but he ain't gonna live kind of shooting her first.
You got that on tape, Art?
Yeah, there'll be a lineup. Don't worry. There's a lineup of people who'd say the same thing.
You don't have to take that off.
No.
I mean that's me.
Yeah.
I got 3 picked up, like I told you. When we had rations, you couldn't go and buy a case of milk. You was lucky if you could only get a can of milk if you had a baby in those back then, and there was lots of things that was rations. We never had a lot of stuff. We eat a lot of molasses bread, I'll tell you. Yeah, and you couldn't have bread and molasses on your bread either. You could only have one or the other.
Oh, I've heard this story before.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one fellow now, a good friend of mine that from Altamore. He tried it with the New York Rangers.
Jack Evans?
Yeah. He shot was 112 hours, 112 miles an hour. And I played we played into a game down on the pond. The first game day, 108 shots. And I was there with a shoulder snake with a kid glove on that hand. And an old ball
The ball was on your legs.
Nothing around my privates.
No.
Only a blanket and an old face mask on. If they hit me in the face, they'd have killed me.
Jeez.
Yeah, 128 shots the first time around. I'd laugh. And even though he sees me, when he sees me, he says, "Art, my son," he says, "You was crazy." I said, "No, I didn't know the difference."
Yeah.
No, I also. You see the TV tower up there?
Yeah.
I climbed the 3 times one day, putting in light bulbs.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
The radio station down there, you've seen the radio station. I climbed them 3 or 4 times. Went up there for $25. I went for a raise. He wouldn't give me a raise to stick to the TV tower up. Yes, you can get up there. And that one there, I used to get $100. And the last time I climbed in, I got $200.
Wow.
Yeah. And that one up there is 200 and some odd feet, but he's about 1,100 feet above sea level, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, 3 times one day. Next day I couldn't move my arms.
I bet.
And the fellow who asked me to go up, when he was come up and look up, and I'd be up there halfway, sat down on the ramp or something. He used to run into this little shack they had there. He couldn't look at me. Yeah.
Yeah, no safety gear, just climbing up.
Just like
Yeah.
yeah. And I done everything for $1.